for the past few years, I've became a social chap. I remember when I was younger, when I was still in elementary school, still in middle school, everything was fun. I was talking to people, I was making friends. However, the COVID-19 lockdown came. And what happened was during sixth grade, midway through the year, everyone got sent home. And what happened was that I came home, I was like, yeah, 2 weeks off, and then 2 weeks turned to 4 weeks, 4 weeks turns to a month, then it was 2 months, and I was off for like a year and a half, I don't even know how long. And that entire time I was playing games like a normal sixth grader would do, and a seventh grader. So I was playing games, and I lost all of my social skills. And what happened was, the friend group I made in elementary school, all the way up until that time, I ended up getting into a beef with them over fucking Fortnite, cause it's just like sixth and seventh grader shit. It's just BS. You argue about nothing. And then I lost all my friends basically. And then I got into 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, and I didn't speak to fucking anyone. I lost all my social skills for one. And I also lost all my friends. So all the people that you go into high school with, when you went into high school, you had this friend group that you would talk to. I didn't have that. So I would just sit there in class. I wouldn't say a single word to anyone. I wouldn't raise my hand in class. I had no social skills. So I just couldn't make any friends. So I was like, what the fuck? And then I started taking my life more seriously. I started working out during the COVID-19 pandemic, whatever. I started taking myself more seriously. Then I realized that, okay, I started working out. I'm starting to improve myself. What else can I improve? Well, I have no fucking social life. I had zero. I couldn't speak to anyone. Let me make sure my mic is there. I just couldn't speak to fucking anyone. I had no social skills, and knowing who I wanted to be, I wanted to be an important person. I wanted to be someone of status. I wanted to be charismatic. I wanted to be able to network with people and do important things. And I wasn't going to be able to do that by sitting in class, not talking to anyone, being an introvert with no fucking social skills. So I took it upon myself to go ahead and learn social skills manually again. I lost them completely. I had to relearn them manually. And the way I did this is what I'm going to talk about in this video. So basically, I started watching podcasts, and I started watching Andrew Tate podcast in particular. If you don't know, I'm sure you know who Andrew Tate is. I started watching his podcast, and I noticed something, that his podcasts were the only podcasts I enjoyed listening to. And the reason why is because he was a phenomenal speaker. He's extremely fucking good at it. He was super captivating by the way he spoke, his energy, his enthusiasm, the speed at which he talks. I was like, God, like, I wouldn't be like that. I want to be able to be that captivating and charismatic, not only on camera, but also in person, because I wanted to be an important person. So I was like, all right, how do I do this? The first thing I did was that I started to practice speaking, because I knew that I wanted to be more social. I wanted to network. I wanted to talk to people and be more charismatic. But at the very foundation of that is speaking. You can't do any of that if you don't know how to say words. That's the foundation of socializing. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take it upon myself to get extremely good at speaking, because this is going to be the building base in which I build all these other social skills and communication things I wanted to learn about. So I got on camera and I started to speak kind of like how I am now. I started to speak about random topics. I started to speak about football, about stories that happened in my life. I just started to speak. And I would analyze what mistakes I would make on camera. I would analyze if I had filler words. I would analyze why I'm boring, why I don't want to listen to myself. Is my energy too low? Am I moving my hands properly? What would make me more captivating here? I started doing that for about months and months and months, I think up until a year. Then I started getting really good at it. And this really, really helped me socialize much better. Because most people, they don't practice speaking. Even extroverts, they don't practice speaking. Like, the extroverts, the only reason why they're good at speaking is because they're talking to people all day, yapping, talking about their coworkers, da-da-da. It's BS. I speak better than all these introverts now because I actually practice speaking. I've analyzed the mistakes I've made on camera. So I started to do that, and something crazy happened. Before, I would try to talk to people, and they didn't care, or they didn't find my jokes funny because I made a stutter in it. But all of a sudden, I would say a joke, I would tell a story, I would say something, And people would start to listen because I was just that sharp at speaking. I could speak with enthusiasm, I could speak fast, all that. So that was the first thing that helped me become a social Chad. Getting very good at speaking. At the end of the day, it's a superpower. All influence is a superpower. Think about politicians. They sit on camera, they go to rallies, they speak to masses of people, but because they're good at speaking, because they can get people to feel emotion, they have influence. So I wanted to have that because I wanted to be an important person. What does an important person have? An important person has power. And influence is power. Being able to shape and move people is power, and captivate people is also power. So that's the first thing. I got very, very good at that. I started to sit down in front of the camera for 1 to 2 minutes. I would record myself on any topic. I would just speak about it in a captivating way, and I would speak in a framework so I didn't ramble. Right? I speak in the prep framework. I learned this from this one influencer, this speaking coach on the internet. He talks about this prep framework, and I just completely fucking stole it because it works. It's PREP, point, reason, example, point. Make a point about something, you explain the reasoning why you made that point, you give an example about it, and you finish off. So if I say Tom Brady's the best football player of all time, I give the reasoning. He's the best football player of all time because he won 7 Super Bowls. I give an example, and when he was in the Super Bowl playing against the Falcons, he came back 28-3 in the second half, which makes him an incredible quarterback, which also makes him the best quarterback of all time. I finished the point. That's why Tom Brady's the best football player of all time. I speak in that framework now, and everything I say is so articulate. People can digest it super easily, and it's clear. That's what I started to do on camera. I repped it out over and over and over again, and I got extremely good at it. So now when I speak to people, they listen to me because I can speak and like hold their attention, like I'm holding your attention. So that's what I did. Now, the second thing I started to do to become a social Chad was that I started to slowly become more social. Like before, when I was an introvert, I didn't speak to anyone, I was socially awkward. I didn't want to speak to people because I was bad at it. So I slowly had to reprogram my mind to get good at speaking, or to feel social again. So there's a few ways I did this. One of the ways I did this was by saying good morning and how are you to people. As simple as it sounds, it's so fucking important that you just get that down. It's second nature. You sit down, or you're walking across the fucking hallway or something, just say good morning, how are you? That's what I started to do. And what it does is that it becomes subconscious. So you just see someone and you're like, hello, how are you? They're like, I'm good. Right? You can go through small talk. I started to just say good morning to people as I walked by them. Hey, good morning. Hello. 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 Good morning. How are you? Oh, you're good? I'm good too. Yeah, it's good. Have a nice day. Simple shit. Because that would accustom me to talking to people. You gotta understand, I didn't speak to anyone. I would walk through the hallway and not say a single word. So I needed to get good at small talk, because that's slowly going to progress me into getting good at the big talk, like full-on conversation. So that's what I started to do. The second thing to make me start feeling more social and make me want to socialize with people is that I started to act more retarded, because when I was trying to speak to more people, what would happen is that I would try to impress them at first. That's how bad I was socially. I would sit in a conversation and I tried to be so interesting that I tried to impress this other person. And that didn't work. And people can sense it. It's just a weird energy if you try to impress them and sound interesting. So I realized that that was a completely wrong philosophy. In fact, acting more retarded and more silly is a better way to be social. Don't try to sit there and impress people. Try to have a good time. That's what I started to do. And I started to act funnier. I started to do silly stuff like, dancing, like silly dances. You get what I'm saying, right? Think about drunk people. Drunk people are very good. Let me check the time. Drunk people are very good socially. And the reason why is because they're goofy. They're not afraid to be vulnerable to some degree. They're not afraid to do silly dances that are embarrassing. They're not afraid to do silly noises or silly jokes. So that's going to make you much better socially. Right? If you're a lonely childs don't understand this, but from what I've seen, the people with siblings, they are always goofy. They're always laughing with one another. These are the extroverts. They're naturally good at socializing with people. The only childs, they don't have anyone to talk to. So when they go talk to a stranger, they don't know what to say. They don't know how to act. They don't know how to have fun and be social. So that was I'm not an only child, but I just never talked to my sisters because who wants to talk to their sisters, right? But I wanted to, what's it called? I needed to get in a social mood. So I started to act 50% more retarded. That's what I started to do. And I'm telling you, for some reason, it just works. People are much more receptive towards you and they have a much better time around you. And ever since I started to do that and I started to get into a social mood more, and I got better at small talk saying good morning, and I got into a social mood by acting 50% more retarded, I started to do that more and more, and I slowly started to transition into more of an extrovert, more of someone who's socially sharp. So then I would go up to people now and I would talk to them. I'd say, hey, what's up? How you doing? And then I learned this from Dale Carnegie, because there's this one book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's by Dale Carnegie. And he talked about how you're more likely to make friends by being interested in other people compared to getting everyone interested into you. So that's what I was doing wrong. I try to impress everyone. No, that's not the right way to go about it. In fact, it's the opposite. You want to be impressed by other people. That's how you make friends. That's how you build connections and have conversations. So that's what I started to do. I'd go up to someone, I'd see their shoes, I'd be like, oh, I like those shoes. Oh yeah. Or I'd be genuinely interested about them. I'd be like, yo, it says Supra, Toyota Supra on your sweatshirt. Are you a car guy? Like, yeah, I'm a car guy. Actually, my dad owned a Supra. Oh, no way, your dad owned a Supra. No way. Which Supra was it? Oh, it was the Mark III. It went super fast. I was like, oh shoot, does he still have it? No, he sold it. You see what I mean? Being genuinely interested in the people will make you naturally a conversationalist. Questions will arrive in your head automatically because you're genuinely curious about this person. And you'll want to say things too, since you're a good speaker, right? Since I was such a good speaker, speaking on camera, I can reply to him in an articulate way that gives them something to work with. And that's another thing I had to learn. I had to learn how to give people things to work with, because that was the problem I ran into. I would be interested in other people. I would ask them questions over and over and over again, but I wouldn't give them anything to ask back. So I'd be like, oh, nice sweatshirt. Where'd you get it? What'd you do? Oh, you got it at the mall? No way. Oh, do you work at the mall? Yeah, I would just ask them questions, but I wouldn't speak myself. That's something that I need to learn. I have to give something for that other person to work with. You know what I mean? So instead of just asking them questions, I was like, okay, I need to start talking myself. So, oh, you went to the mall? No way. Okay. I went to the mall last Saturday. I went with my family. Yeah, we went to Foot Locker. I got some new shoes. Give them something to work with so they can ask you questions. That's how healthy conversations work. It's a back and forth. So once I started practicing conversation, I was actually in the mix of it, and I would speak. I'd compliment them. Obviously, I just have conversations. That's how I really started to build more social skills. And since I was talking to so many people, because I wanted to get good at it, at socializing, since I was talking to more people, my skill and my comfort level within conversations started to increase. Before, I would talk to someone and I would be socially anxious. But then I started to talk to people, and since I was used to talking to people, I would sit there and I'd speak to this person, and I'd be comfortable. I'd be calm because I've done this before. It's like the first time you play, I remember I used to play football. The first time you play a football match, you're super fucking nervous. You're scared. Am I gonna mess up? What is coach gonna think of me? My parents are in the stands. Oh fuck. But then you get to your fucking 30th game and it's like, oh, I've done this before. Right? So you're calm. So that's how you're going to feel in conversation. So I started to do that. I started to manually build social skills. And what happened is that my life completely changed. My mental health was so much better. Before, I remembered 9th, 10th grade, I would sit in class. I wouldn't speak to no one, man. It was fucking miserable because I was so scared of what people thought of me because I was socially awkward. And not talking to anyone, it just fucks up your brain. It fucks up your brain because you just evolve that way. Humans have evolved in that way to speak to people. It's good for their mental health, socializing. Since I didn't speak to anyone and had no friends during that time period, I was so depressed for no reason and I didn't even realize. Then I started to talk to people now, and I'm talking to people constantly. I'm talking to my coworker, I'm talking to my friends, we're laughing, we're having a good time. And then I started to realize that, yeah, my mental health is so much better. I feel so much more joy in my day-to-day life, knowing that I can go up to someone, talk to them, make a few jokes, learn about them, have a good time. That's how I became a social chat. Now I can just do this to anyone. I could talk to anyone now. But the weird thing is that when you go from someone who's socially awkward, someone who's socially sharp, you don't want to talk to anyone. The people I talk to most now, after building very good social skills, are the people that are extroverts. The people that are already good at speaking, they're charismatic, they don't stutter over their words, they're saying funny jokes and stuff. Those are the people I want to talk to because they're the most fun to be around. Right, so basically my camera ended up running out of storage. I can't be bothered to finish the video, honestly, so I'm just gonna say what I was gonna say. Basically, I was talking about how the only thing that was fun now was talking to other extroverts because they have social skills and they're funny to be around. And I was wrapping up there basically. I was talking about how I made this video and I made this channel because I'm genuinely on a mission to help socially awkward people become socially sharp, like how I was, because I was so fucking bad at speaking, bro. I was so bad at talking to people. It pisses me off to this day. Basically, I'm making this for those kind of people, and if they want help, if they want lessons, years of lessons and tactics and things they can implement into their life so they can be respected by other people, feel important, and have the power of influence so they could feel more powerful, basically you can just go the link in the description. It's a communication lab. That's my program. There I'm going to teach people absolutely everything I know about communication, and you're going to get dangerously good at it, honestly. So I highly recommend you join, but it's up to you, honestly. But yeah.